So after making the video about my top favorite characters, it seemed like that you guys found it quite interesting. And I'm really glad that you guys enjoyed it because I thought it was something very interesting and really fun to make. You know, just something to enjoy. So I thought about making a video about the characters that I hate this time around. With long games making such ridiculous characters nowadays, and it seems like they still find ways to make them even more insane, my list of my most hated characters has started to grow exponentially. And I'm sure that you guys can agree with me too. And for the record, I never started hating any characters until like around 3 years into Langrisser. I'm gonna start at the bottom of the list and put Icemelda as my 5th most hated characters in Langrisser to deal with. She is someone that you want to prepare for. Otherwise, she will literally render your team unable to play the game. As long as she's alive, she can freeze at a consistent rate. It's absolutely disgusting. And I'm not even kidding when I say consistently. What she needs to do first is apply this cold debuff that lowers your stats if you fight Icemelda. So that means she can be both bulky and hit quite hard. Very scary. If they die while having that, then she gets a -2 cooldown on all of her skills. Why they thought that was a good idea when she can freeze at a consistent rate, I got no clue. Then any attacks if they have that debuff will guarantee, keyword guarantee, them be frozen. There are even approach methods to instantly freeze them. For one, her at the again skill, it can be targeted on the enemies to either pull herself or pull the target closer to her, which will apply cold, because any attacks that she makes will apply that first. Or you can simply use this as a kidnapping tool. You can even use this as an approach option to herself and 2 other teammates if they are marked with her buff that boosts their offensive capability. So let's say that you want to drag your, let's say, tank on board to the enemy side. They'll help keep Icemelda alive on next turn so that she can do more of her broken mess like her second 3C skill, which is another thing to guarantee freeze since at the edge of the skill span, it will apply those ice tiles. So enemies on it, if they pass through it, they get hit with fixed damage and it gets applied with cold. But since Icemelda will be hitting them first, it will apply cold, and then after that, those ice tiles will be applied, which forces them to take fixed damage, then finally frozen. With all that said, with how broken all that sounds, the reason why she's quite low on this list is that there are countermeasures against her. Like you can have immunity to fixed damage, immunity to being displaced, and even immune to being frozen too, which is immunity to stun, which they for some reason categorizes as the same thing. Like being frozen is the same thing as being stunned. Another reason that I do have is her just being a bigger threat only when she gets the chance to attack. Like when she attacks first, it's not a huge big deal. It's just more like if you can get rid of her first before she has a chance to attack the second time, then there's real no issues. Because she's one of those characters that gets better as the fight drags on. Oh, and she is pretty broken in PvE too. Is that Anarchy bro giving you a hard time? Just freeze them, it always works. Too much enemies for you? Just freeze them, always works. Next on the list is Awakener as my 4th most hated characters to fight. What's weird is that I like and hate her. I mean, she's absolutely great for PvE, being this like strong DPS anytime faction buffer, and there are some creative plays with her swap skill and even using her teleport skills. Like those qualities I really like about her. What I really hate is having to go against her that gets me. She's able to control the pace of the game thanks to her talent skill being able to slow down 2 targets. It really annoys me. See, part of the reason why I play Rush is because I hate how long the matches can go on. At best, one match can go as long as a Valorant game, which is about like 30 to 40 minutes. And I just don't got the patience for that. So for me, either I win fast or lose fast, all the while get to play more games. So facing Awakener just makes the game more slower, especially on maps with the roughest terrain. With the newly added weapon, this talent skill can do a little bit more now that you can apply a debuff on top of that. And you are able to get the strong debuffs too, like passive skill disable and much more. She even has this like comeback factor, whereas if she dies, she places down a portal that she can come back onto the next turn. So even with her stats down when she comes back alive, she will have a death timer that ends after 3 turns before it fully kills her, but she's still going to be an annoying threat, using everything that she still has access to. If she's able to get a kill within those 3 turns, she gets fully revived, but thankfully, this is only a one-time thing every battle. But yeah, she's at the bottom of the list since she is someone that I can still deal with despite those problematic issues that I have with her. Alright, these last three gets my blood boiling whenever I have to deal with them. So I think I should calm my mind and go into some honorable mentions to lessen my blood pressure. One of them is McLean. What he mainly does is apply these water tiles to slow down grounded units. If it wasn't clear that I hate characters who can slow me down, he's the prime example of that. He wants to slow you down in order for himself and his team to slowly approach you. Or maybe just like do a setup, while you yourself can't do anything about it and just have to maybe slowly approach. And that's really his strongest ability that you really see most of the time with him. Another thing is that he is also an assassin with that ignore guard 3C, but I don't find him too terrible to deal with nowadays, which is why he's in the honorable mentions, when I can use someone like Aeon, Kelmo, or Polly to still reach despite those water towers being in the way, and more flying units being more viable. I think the main reason why he fell off is that these characters we have now can literally be like, yeah, your water towers are annoying, but it's not enough to truly slow us down. Therefore, I'm gonna still do my thing, whereas last time, when he was new, it was a bigger deal since you didn't have certain characters like we do now. The next honorable mention goes to Sagani. I want you guys to take a look at his talent and his 3C. Those alone just speaks for itself. Not only can he slow you down, but he can silence your team. Guarantee, mind you. Guarantee whenever he attacks by his talent, and guarantee silence on his 3C. And his range is great too, like not too bad, since he can summon an owl, which is pretty much like Michelle with the way how it works, basically acting like as if you're on that tile to extend the range, which can be shuffled around too, unlike Michelle. So if you don't have a healer on your team, then Sagani will disrupt your whole team. And I'm hoping your healer has that silence immunity. I can't stress how much I really recommend that all healer support characters have silence immunity on them, otherwise they can't do the one thing that they're meant to, support the team. Another honorable mention that we have is Langrisser. My blood is already starting to boil. I have bad memories having to deal with them. Not only is he a healer, his most notable mechanic are these sins that do different things based on how much that you accumulate. The way how you build these up is Langrisser using his commandment, which is his talent skill. Basically, it's him predicting what you will be doing. These trigger include stuff like using a non-damage skill, moving 3 or more blocks, and before attacking. And you'd be surprised on how fast that you can build these up if you're not paying attention, and you will pay the price for it. Such as lowering your damage if at 4 stacks, then at 7 stacks, you will be silenced. It doesn't even end there yet. He has this one skill that can be applied to one enemy that will subject them to all commandments and stun you if you reach 4 stacks of sin. Even his 3C can apply more debuffs too. So my problem with him is that not only is he a healer, it's his ability to make you play more cautiously across all your team members, otherwise you'll be doing less damage, get stunned, and be silenced. Alright, so those were really about it. Like, I wanted to really include more in the honorable mentions, but I feel like adding characters such as healers like Rose and Elma, having to face them is obviously my worst nightmare. But the reason I didn't is just because I felt like it would be too obvious since they're just strong healers who can hard counter rush. And I want to make this video more so of the characters that I find very annoying as well, and not just the countermeasures against my playstyle and just like the characters in general in Langrisser. So yeah, pretty much the strong healers, obviously I don't like facing them since they can keep their team healthy and alive. At the number 3 spot, as my most hated character is Celica. Like, Celica is great when you use her, especially in PvE. Like, I think she's quite fun to use, but having to face her in PvP, it's a whole different story. She's a support character, and y'all must know that long games has no chill whenever they design them. Most of the time, they end up being broken, and that's the status that Celica has upon herself. She's extremely versatile, so she can provide a bunch of healing and a wide variety of buffs. Mind you, she was able to use some of the unexpected skills like Prayers, Miracle, and even Rosen's unique healing skill. Then some other stuff like Attack Blessing too. Now the only bad part of all this is that some of these skills are random every turn. It's really her only negative. You'll even see some attack skills too, which is quite niche, which you will see when we talk about her 3C. If you all thought that all of that was insane, it gets even more ridiculous. But once you can fully refresh a skill, it will have the exact cooldown of that skill, but let's get back into it later. Her 2C, oh, this thing. increases the probability of enchants by 15%, which stacks 5 times for a max of 75%, but with enchants having a 30% chance to trigger, it turns into a 105 chance, meaning that you are guaranteed to activate stuff like Clock, Thorns, and Ice. And surely that's where it stops. No, 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 no. Long Game said that's not enough. We need to go even bigger. And behold, her 3C. Oh boy, her 3C. Let me read this to you guys. Passive lets her use either an assist or heal skill again on an ally with mana. If Celica has this, she gets more range and damage. When using this 3C, it gives an ally mana that lets them heal after battle. Buffs from her last a turn longer, and revive. If it's removed, the cooldown is increased by 1, and gets to act again after using this. So, you can apply this on anyone in any support anything. She doubles the effectiveness. So she can use armor affinity twice for your enchants to max out. Double skill refresh. Double healing and even dispelling too using the Forest Priest and Night Bloom. And the cherry on top of it all is her just throwing out revives. It is absolute insanity. Thankfully only one ally can have this at a time, but it is incredibly unbalanced, especially with it having a short cooldown too, with hardly any repercussions. Literally broken on all levels by being extremely versatile in any given situations. She literally has a lot of things on her that is not hard to just use her on any kind of team. In PvP, never allow Celica to pair up with any of the degenerate characters. And speaking of, oh man, the second one. I think we can all agree that Jace is very annoying. No questions about that. It's like this little fly that keeps buzzing around you. Like, just stop. Why do you even exist? Why do you have the things that you do? Jace is all about doing hidden runs, and he does this extremely well by applying this special towel that he can teleport back into after doing any kind of attack. He has this ridiculous at again skill that lets him teleport to any defense terrain, and he can reach quite far too. Even his AoE has the same reach that slows down opponents, even teleports them back into it while lowering their match defense. That right there is important because his 3C can ignore a guard if the magic defense is lowered. Oh, and if he doesn't kill, then he stuns with it. Yep, if that doesn't sound stupid enough, he can actually combo with Bright Summoner, Mage Bright Summoner, since she can apply these like owls when she does any kind of attack with her unicorn, that lowers the enemy's magic defense. And seeing how his 1C can teleport quite far and terrains on most maps being very coincidentally plays very well to cover any kind of position, broken. Like, I consider this guy to be broken in my opinion. While his best skill has a short cooldown being 3, and his exclusive helps him be more consistent too. The only way to mitigate any kind of damage done from him is to have a tank, so that he doesn't go and snipe just literally anyone that he wants with his 3C. And your best approach with him is just to slow him down, and just play around with whatever he does until eventually you can do something about him. Truly a degenerate character, but even he can't compare to the #1 spot here. I wholeheartedly believe that you guys will hate this character just as much as I do. So rightfully so, 1000% this character belongs in this spot. For you people who focus more on PvE, you all may not fully understand, but the PvP people, you guys can understand my frustration. And that is Emir. This guy just makes me question his whole existence. He's literally broken and so unhealthy to the game in my opinion. He's able to be incredibly strong in general, plus being able to crit 100% of the time while being bulky and is immune to all debuffs if he is in his shackle form. And when he does get inflicted with debuffs, he gets these surge stacks that builds up his crit rate infinitely and can act again when he has 4 or more of it, while also attacking whatever defensive stat is lowered when he enters his second transformation, which only triggers when he acts again, then afterwards, he goes back into his shackle form to go back into being bulky. To go along with this, he has this 1C skill that helps build up those stacks while also being able to heal, gain buffs, and for whatever reason, it has skill cooldown for each surge stack that he has before using this. He can even be this like physical tank, which he does quite well, or just go full DPS. This one here is a unique one to just apply debuffs, very annoying. Then you look at his 3C. Its passive gives him more mobility when he goes into his second transformation form, and each surge stacks heals 10% of his HP. Mind you that these surge stacks does grow infinitely, like I said. So if he has like, let's say 17 surge stacks, then he heals 170% of his total HP. The skill itself has a unique take on Revive Disable that I really like. It makes it so that you have to one-shot as long as they have the debuff, which he can apply a ton of it. Like I said, these surge stacks can grow infinitely. There is potential to strip all their buffs into debuffs, so you can get rid of their defensive magic defense and get something like defensive magic defense down along with damage taken increase. He has a 40% damage increase in total from his talent plus his bond, and over 100% crit rate, while always attacking whatever defensive stats is lowered. If that's not crazy enough, Langrisser decided that he should have the Redeemer Soldier. These guys will give them a revive as long as you don't have a debuff. You can be quite tanky too. And since Ymir is always immune to everything, quite tanky himself, it's always going to be up 24/7. And you would think that these Redeemer Soldiers would lower his damage potential, but it really doesn't, since he still has tons of ways to still hit crazy hard. So we have command effects that acts like debuffs. That's your best way to deal with them, like using Bernie or using the Cavalier Soldier. And even then, even if you're prepared for him, he's still such an unfair character you can ever fight, because you can literally throw everything at him and he'll just shrug it off. He just needs himself to be able to wipe out your whole team and never allow him to ever be paired with Celica. That's some truly disgusting stuff right there. And at that point, I call it quit because he's practically invincible. I have never seen a character with so much self-sufficiency to be able to ignore whatever gets thrown at him, shrug it off, and still hit incredibly hard using soldiers that doesn't have any real damage potential. That's how insane unfair Ymir is. And it makes me question what was going through Langrisser's head when they decided to greenlight him. I truly hope the future characters out there have a way to deal with Ymir. And the only thing that I know that you can sort of mitigate what Ymir does to you and like what he can do is to have command effects. So yeah, these characters, not too bad if you use them in PvE. I only use like Celica and Awakener in PvE. Even in PvP too, I don't really enjoy using Jace, Ymir. It's just because how ridiculous they are. Like I don't really have fun using them. But that's just me though. Alright, so there goes my most hated characters ever in Langrisser. So if you guys did enjoy this video, feel free to like, subscribe, want to see more, and I'm also quite curious. Do you guys also hate the characters mentioned in this video? I would honestly like to hear it down in the comments. And also feel free to let me know what are your most hated characters that weren't mentioned in this list. Whether you hate dealing with them, or just hate them in general, I would like to hear it. So yeah, thanks for watching. Your fellow Z.